Before we jump in, a quick heads up. The opinions and stories shared by my guest are theirs, not necessarily mine. I'm a beauty enthusiast who loves bringing you new voices and ideas, but all thoughts, advice, and information you hear on the Beauty Biz Show podcast belong solely to the guest. And remember, nothing on this show is meant to replace professional or legal guidance. Now, let's dive into the good stuff. Welcome to the Beauty Biz Show. I'm your host, Lori Crete, a career-loving esthetician and beauty entrepreneur on a mission to empower fellow estheticians. If you are a solo or small business owning esthetician and you enjoy this podcast and curious about how we can work together, visit beautybizclub.com for mentorship and essential business growth tools. If you're looking to boost your retail sales and elevate client care, check out my line of luxury spa wraps and headbands at spastar.net. Now, join me as I bring you inspirational messages from beauty industry experts and practical tips to help you achieve beauty biz success. Get ready for some serious beauty biz entertainment. Hey everybody, welcome to the Beauty Biz Show. Our guest today is Ivan Galanin. He is a biotech entrepreneur and the founder of Adipeau, a science-driven skincare company focused on skin regeneration and facial fitness. He received his scientific training in inflammation research at Sanofi and previously founded two biotech companies developing treatments for rare genetic disease and personalized cancer therapies. Today, Ivan is dedicated to advancing our understanding of the skin's regenerative capabilities. His work bridges science and skincare, challenging conventional approaches to aging and empowering consumers and professionals to think beyond surface level treatments. Welcome to the show, Ivan. Okay, well, I want to start by apologizing. I pronounced your name wrong in the intro. Ivan, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. And no one ever gets it right, so don't feel bad.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you for being here today. I'm really excited to talk to you because I'm going to be honest, as an esthetician, science, I would say it fascinates me, but it also scares me a little bit. You know, when a client asks me, how does something work? I'm so scared I'm going to mess it all up, the explanation. So I want to dive into that with you today. And I will tell you, I've been hearing about Adipeau for a long time. I'm a slow adopter. So
That's good. We love a critical audience.
I wouldn't say critical. You're like, people are singing you praises. And it took an email, and I want to talk about this. I think this is a great place for us to start our conversation today. You just won an award at is it Beauty and Longevity Award
conference? Yeah. For, I don't even remember what it's for because, to be honest, I don't really pay attention to awards. But it's a very reputable conference. The INICOS conference is it's a very high level crowd of people. Like, you know, the founder of K18 was there last time. It's a tough crowd, and to win an award in that setting is very humbling. You know, I appreciate it. Yeah, but I don't pay attention.
Well, you said something at the beginning that got me to pay attention, and you know, it's hard to get somebody to open an email in this day and age that we're in. You said I have the email open. AI is going to change our industry. So let's talk about that a little bit, because at first I keep hearing it, but I don't know exactly what it means. Did they talk a lot about this at the conference?
No. In fact, I don't think many people understand that the rules of the game are or have already been changed.
Okay.
And if you're not, and I don't think there are any other companies, thankfully, that have figured this out. And people are still playing by the old, playbook. And it's going to take all the entrenched people another, year or two before they figure out that what they're doing doesn't doesn't really help anymore. And
Let's talk
really,
about the old playbook a little bit. What does that mean?
the old playbook, it was really to fool people, right? It was, or otherwise, marketing, right?
Yes.
Marketing, fool, convince, but science was really a tool of marketing in the old playbook. You had the clinicals. Where are the clinicals? And the
And who did them,
clinicals, yeah,
right? Who did the clinical?
the clinicals were done by someone you paid, who typically did, like it's a clinical shop that created clinical data for anyone who walked in the door, and they had a strategy, and the strategy was, like, let's measure 100 things, and if we get a couple of positives, well, those are your clinicals. You can tell people that you improve this or that, or, pigmentation, radiance, user perception. It didn't matter. Like, the whole clinical evidence part of cosmetics was a farce. It's still a farce. And you may say, well, Yvonne, you're exaggerating, but um, consider one thing: a study is not typically accepted for publication in a peer-reviewed journal if it has not been registered in at a clinical trial repository. So if you go to a good publication like Nature or Science, and you say, okay, here's my clinical trial, and they'll say, well, show me where you registered it. And if you didn't register it, they won't publish it. Now there are lower level publications. And in fact, most of the dermatology publications don't seem to have that requirement. So you can, like, publish in JDD or whatever these journals are without having registered your study, but that's a really low standard. And what it allowed companies to do was to cherry pick the positive data that they got from their studies and present those as real results. Where we all know from, like, third grade science class, the first thing you do is you write down your hypothesis. What do you think you're going to show? And then you measure, and then you see, okay, did I show it? And but what the way the cosmetic industry works is, you don't write down your hypothesis. You first measure, then you find something that's positive, and you go back and you say, okay, that was my hypothesis. And that's what I mean. Like, everyone, all the clinicals that have been done so far up until this point are of dubious merit. And most casual readers, most dermatologists, they don't know the difference between a real clinical study and one of these sort of after the fact, measurement studies. They just see, clinical evidence. But that's where AI is so useful, because AI knows what the standards are. It knows
So it's
everything.
no longer going to be able to be manipulated, so to speak.
Yeah, no, they'll say, okay, well, what is the clinical evidence for this, growth factor? Well, they'll say, yeah, they have a clinical study. It's published in a peer-reviewed journal, but the study wasn't registered. They didn't set a primary endpoint in advance. So the value of that study is modest.
So I was reading through your bio, and your education is in inflammation, which is very interesting. It feels like inflammation is the root of all evil, right?
Inflammation is, both it's a double-edged sword. It's We couldn't live without inflammation. Inflammation is one of the body's main tools for healing, but it's also when when it doesn't work, when it gets stuck, then it's a very damaging tool. Then it's you're sort of inflicting a wound on yourself.
So, how do you go from studying inflammation and rare genetic disease and cancer therapies into skincare?
You know, I I love science, right? And the science that I'm working on now in terms of dermal fat cells is the most interesting science that I've actually ever been involved with. It is incredibly interesting. It's incredibly unresearched, and I'm working with the fantastic researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, and what we're finding is really really interesting, and it's going to make a difference in the world.
So, we had a podcast scheduled last week, and you were in Europe. Is that where you were in Sweden?
No, no, I was just taking some time. We're actually launching at Le Bon Marché in Paris at the end of May, and so I went to see the store, sort of survey the French beauty market a little bit. It's pretty cool.
I feel it's trending right now. I keep seeing all these things on Instagram where people are over there in their pharmacies and getting facials. And what was your biggest, most fascinating takeaway from the French beauty market?
The you know the there's a store, there's a chain there of stores there that's called it's sort of a weird name. It's like, I forget the name, but it's like their equivalent of Ulta. And you go in there, and unlike Ulta, the people know what they're talking about. You can ask them about a product and they can actually explain it. So that was my biggest takeaway, which is that there are retail options in Europe that are maybe superior to what we have in the United States.
I've always felt my aesthetics teacher was from London and she had to go to school for 4 years to become an esthetician. I always feel they're a few steps ahead of us in Europe as far as skincare and products and advancements. And even the professionalism involved, like you mentioned, okay, these people are showing up and they know their stuff. Do you have your Adipeau? Do you call it a lotion, a gel? Like, what do you? I know there is a gel, but what do you call the lotion part of it? Is it a serum?
No, we have a cream and a gel. Very, I find I don't know what a serum is. Like, it's like cream is a cream, a gel is a gel.
Yeah, I always say highly active ingredients, and I'm like, well, I think that's what I was taught, but yeah, what is the difference? Who knows, right?
Yeah. It's again, it's one of these marketing terms like, oh, we have a serum. Okay. What does it do?
It's more expensive. That's what it does. It costs
Yeah,
you more.
exactly,
If we're being
exactly. Yeah.
so, how did you bring this to life? I want to learn all about it because I order it. I got your email about AI and I go, you know what? I've been hearing about this for so long. And it's kind of proof that it takes 10, 12 touch points before somebody will actually dive in and purchase something. I'm living proof of that. But now I am obsessed with it. And that's an understatement because at first I put it on my face and then my neck, then my décolleté, now my earlobes, now the gel on top of my knees. Like pretty soon I'm gonna have to take a bath in this stuff. So tell me how this came about. I want to talk a little bit about your facial fitness in a way that an esthetician can understand and start to educate their clients with this concept. So let's dive in.
Yeah. So, you know, it's going to sound like almost every other um, skincare brand story. I couldn't find anything to solve my problems. Well, in my case, I had a dermatitis that was longstanding, 4 years. Uh, was, I think, a little bit of an allergy. Then I treated it with clobetasol, and it just like the skin just eroded, and I basically had no skin. Um, and you know, I treated it with a very simple existing product, that was basically a emulsion of cottonseed oil. You know, very, very straightforward. And I just put it on for like emollients, just like I need something so I'm not itching and scratching this. And after a couple of weeks, I noticed like I'm not paying attention to my, to this defect in my skin. I'm like, maybe it's really working. And within 2 months, that long-standing wound, I would call it, healed completely and permanently. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on here. And as I dug into it, I thought, well, maybe it's working on the skin's fat cells. I didn't really know anything about fat cell biology at that point, nothing at all. That's how unstudied fat cells are. They're the main source of inflammation in the body. And I spent 7 years, 8 years researching inflammatory disease at a major drug company, and we never even talked about chronic inflammation from enlarged fat cells. But anyway, I was like, I wonder, I wonder if the head of dermatology at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, which is right next door, knows anything about this. And I knew her, and we had lunch, and she said, Yvonne, I don't know anything about dermal fat cells. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like a opportunity. And I started working on it, and I was about like 6 months into it, and Shiseido came out with a product that was exactly what I was contemplating. And I was like, well, I guess I can give up now. I'm not going to compete with Shiseido. Um, and then I was depressed for a little bit, but then I went and I thought, all right, well, let me just take a look at their ingredient list. And I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? There's a chance this might not work, because while they had one ingredient to promote new fat cell formation, they had another ingredient, a legacy ingredient, that blocked fat cell formation. So I was like, you know what? This may not work. So I should just keep going. And really the key for me was an accidental discovery. I accidentally discovered that an ingredient, Campharia parviflora extract, which I selected because it's known in the scientific literature to stimulate new fat cell formation, actually reduces fat cell size in the research. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But that ended up being really the key invention, right? The key novelty, because in the past, when people thought about fat cells, they thought, all right, let's make more and let's make them bigger. We don't care, more is more. And similarly, less is less. Whether you kill them, make them smaller, let's just make them less. And our strategy is, let's try to support the skin in terms of increasing the number while we decrease the size. And so that was really what I did differently. And again, completely by accident, just accepting that this was lucky break. And it turned out to be that's the way you should do it. And so yeah, that's how it happened.
Have you had any bumps in the road? Was it more even like the packaging or the trademark, the business part of it? What was more complicated for you?
There, so many bumps in the road, so many like things. I had no idea what I had no experience, and I didn't even know anyone who had any experience. Like I started working with people who knew the Kardashians, and I thought, well, they know the Kardashians. They're 2 steps ahead of me. So like let's follow them. And after I quickly realized that they had no idea either, and that I would have to just learn, by making mistakes. So I made a lot of mistakes, um, and just evolving as we go along.
How long ago did you start the company?
Well, I started the research in 2018, and I started the company, the the commercialization in 2020.
So for me as a business person, that seems fast to develop a product and to like have scientific backing. I think it feels divine, like meant to be kind of speedy in the world of business and product creation.
It's a really good point. And, in retrospect, I would have probably waited, in terms of when I launched. I would have um, been more, more circumspect, more careful, um, just taken more time. But, but I was impatient, to be honest. I was really impatient and and rushed through some things that I probably shouldn't have rushed through. But it's, you learn from your mistakes.
Well, I think we have to just success like speed. And I think we have to sometimes just throw something out there to course correct. You don't even know what it is that maybe needs an adjustment until you just do it. So I don't think you should live in regret there. It's
No, I
all
mean, you can only learn, like I was just thinking, like, I'm in the process. I have my own YouTube channel, which is called Educator, and I I started it, to sort of bring, like, we started with your question, like, I'm really nervous about science, and it was
yeah.
really to really like make science understandable, for estheticians and, skincare enthusiasts. And I've just realized over the last couple of weeks that, during this whole retinoid debate, that like when I started that channel, I sort of fell into a pattern of, sort of spectacular, sort of like gotcha type, like, what they don't tell you, that sort of thing, because that's the way everyone does YouTube videos. It's like, you didn't know this, tune in. And I realized that, taking, in retrospect, if I was to start over again and with new episodes, taking a much more sort of balanced and helpful tone, right? Instead of saying, like, you didn't know that hyaluronic acid, destabilizes the skin barrier, and sort of scaring people, getting that, provoking, getting that attention, which is what everyone does. And instead, just sort of saying, like, here's some things about hyaluronic acid that aren't widely discussed, and let's talk about it. And then let's talk about how relevant they are for for everyday use, and really make it, much more helpful rather than, you know, as provocative as possible.
Just a quick message, and then we're jumping right back into the episode. Many of you know this already, but I've been looking for a new assistant manager, one that supports my esthetician life and my treatment room life. And today, I get to share something that genuinely lights me up. I found my new treatment room assistant manager, and it's going to surprise you when you find out who I chose to support me while I'm working on clients. It's a new to me all-in-one platform for scheduling, payments, marketing, and much more. And it really feels like it was made for small business estheticians. It's called Gloss Genius, and I'm officially obsessed. First, it's designed to help build an aesthetics brand. You know, I believe in support that feels elevated and luxurious because this helps us stand out, and Gloss Genius nails this. Second, it's actually really easy to use for you and for your clients. No clunky menus, no confusion, no where do I click next, none of these moments. Clients don't have complicated logins just to book an appointment. It's just smooth, smart design that works with ease. Third, every feature purposefully helps your business grow, whether it's rebooking to bring a client back in, or low payment processing rates that help you actually keep more of your money that you earn. This platform never stops looking out for you. And you know how rare that is in our industry? It's so refreshing to see a company who actually understands the margins that beauty businesses have to work with. But here's what really sealed the deal for me. Gloss Genius was founded by two powerhouse sisters who are deeply passionate about helping entrepreneurs thrive. They're committed to innovation, education, and helping our businesses grow while cutting out the stress that comes along with it. Their whole mission is to help beauty biz owners grow with technology that empowers us instead of overwhelms us. And honestly, you can feel their heart in every feature. And trust me, I get it. Switching platforms can feel intimidating, but Gloss Genius makes the process simple and possible. So if you've been looking for a business software that is gorgeous, client-friendly, and built by people who respect and advocate for beauty and wellness entrepreneurs, this is it. I'm thrilled to welcome Gloss Genius as part of the Beauty Biz Show, and even more excited for you to experience what I've found: a fresh start, a powerful platform to help you grow, and a company that truly gets us. If your business is ready for next level, Gloss Genius is waiting for you. Because when your systems support you, you get to focus on the beauty that you're here to create. So click the link in the show notes or the link in my Instagram bio at Lori_BeautyBiz to learn more and use my code BeautyBizShow to experience your first 2 months of Premier Tier for half off. It's interesting you bring up hyaluronic acid, because about 6 or 7 years ago, I realized I could not use it. I would blister every time I put it on my face. And everybody would tell me, no, that's not it. It can't do that. Your body has it. It can't do that. So I think that's what freaks me out about science is it's almost like running a business. Every time you think you have something figured out, something else pops up or becomes more apparent, or you have a new awareness. Is it true with hyaluronic, have you found that the larger the molecular structure, the easier it is on the barrier?
I don't think so. I think this is one of the, I think that it may not make a meaningful difference is what
Okay.
I think is the case. And I think that, um, I think that part of the problem is that we gain awareness by drawing distinctions. Like they don't know, but I know. Like what they're wrong, I'm right.
Yeah.
That's the traditional. And so that path ultimately, it's maybe helpful in the short term to get eyeballs, but in the long term, it breaks us up into camps, right? Pro hyaluronic acid, anti hyaluronic acid, pro tretinoin, anti tretinoin. And I think that ultimately we all end up losing because everyone just tunes out and they're like, there's no way I'm going to understand this, so I'm just not going to pay any attention. So I'm actually in discussions now to reformat my YouTube channel to bring on another, very senior scientist, academic scientist who actually also has a skincare brand, and it's going to be more of like, let's make sure we give multiple perspectives on everything. And I think it's going to be more useful than the gotcha, what you don't know, like debunked, you know.
I think that's a beautiful approach. And I will say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I've had my hands on faces and been looking at skin under a mag lamp for 26 years. And it's critical thinking to me at this point. Like, this doesn't make sense. Let me try to figure out why. So, with my hyaluronic acid sensitivity, I started recognizing it in my clients. I'm like, wait, let's just pull this back. Sometimes it's not more, it's pulling something back that will course correct the skin. And,
Yeah, yeah,
everyone said, oh,
and
that can't be true, but it is. I see it happen all the time.
no, it is. It's it's unwillingness to really treat this with the consideration that real scientific questions deserve. They're complicated. They're very complicated. And also, and I think we've seen this with the Barbara Sturm situation where people were like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a podiatrist, we can't listen to podiatrists. um, there's this sort of like idea that only certain people with certain credentials can talk about the science, and estheticians, even though they have so much more experience actually feeling and treating the skin, are silenced. Well, like, your experience doesn't matter because you don't have those doctor credentials. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing: doctors are not scientists, right? There's a difference. Science is the methodology of understanding, biology, chemistry, the scientific disciplines. It's a it's a it's really a way of thinking and acting, right? Doctors have very little exposure to science. So when they were in medical school, they were studying a bunch of things. When they're doing their residency, they may participate in one, you know, paper. They'll write a paper, like usually it's a case study or a review of something, or there'll be a middle author on a paper, and that's it. They'll publish that one paper. They'll never go back and read papers or write papers. You look at, like, the top dermatologists or dermatological surgeons in the field, they've written almost nothing.
And
I
I will,
I I by the end of the year, I will have written more papers in skincare than 99% of the dermatologists.
and I writing papers is really research that comes to life. So studying things. And I think the skin, because I've worked with doctors my whole career, plastic surgeons, dermatologists, endocrinologists. I think that I think that doctors that will sit and listen to a patient and learn that way, that's the best doctor that I've ever worked with, right? Real life experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A doctor with an open mind, is
Yeah.
wonderful. But then again, here is where AI is such a blessing, right? So, um, it really knows everything. It really does. Now you have to guide it and you have to check it, and sometimes it makes up references that don't exist. But I think it's going to be months and not years before someone has developed an app that basically says, you put in the product, say what's the science behind it, what's the clinical evidence, and it'll be smart. It won't be like now. It needs a little, finagling, but within months, it's going to be to the point where it's going to give back like really clear and convincing and well-grounded answers.
Well, I mean, praise to the skincare angels then, because we are getting so much information that is wrong from social media. People need to start turning more to AI for this type of information. And I
Social
will go
media.
back to dermatologist. What I think, out of all medicine, maybe the skin is the hardest one to fix. Like if somebody gets a rash, it's going away on its own, is what I've found. So, they have a hard job. I see why so many of them are turning just to cosmetics and that type of care.
It's a very hard job. It ranges from cancer to acne. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
really. And um and then it's also so lucrative, right? The cosmetic side. So there's also that draw towards self promotion, towards, I'm a celebrity dermatologist, and there's no time for research. Like when I spent, I spent like weeks researching about hyaluronic acid, like full time, just sitting there reading, understanding, well, does it really hold 1,000 times its weight in water? And you know where I found the answer to that question? So Peter Thomas Roth, who was sued, his company was sued for making that claim. In the lawsuit proceedings, the plaintiffs provided evidence to show that hyaluronic acid only bound something like 1 or 2 times its weight in water, and that was where I found the evidence. That was
Kind of
before
circles
AI.
to
Yeah,
how you started it, like marketing the hooks that people have used and how real
yeah.
are they, right?
But yeah, no, I think it really it's I'm giving a talk. I'm going to a conference next week, Wellist conference, and I'm giving a talk about the role that AI will play in basically cleaning up a lot of the nonsense in wellness and skincare. And I'm a huge believer that because it can't be tricked, it can't be fooled, it can't be cajoled. We just recently rewrote our whole like science section of the website, the whole clinical evidence of the section of the website, to make it understandable to AI. And while we were writing it, AI would say, well, what you're saying here isn't supported. Can you please provide a better reference for this assertion or change the assertion? And we're like, yep, you're right. Like that reference stinks. We can't say that. Um, so it's we're going to look back, on, you know, I don't know, this person, Lab Muffin. There's a person in Australia who I think has a chemistry degree, and she's considered to be a skincare know a lot because she knows some chemistry. And her blog or YouTube channel is called Lab Muffin.
I've never
Um,
heard.
yeah, so Lab Muffin is now an authority on skincare, where I think we're going to look back in 2 years and like, remember when we used to listen to Lab Muffin? That was silly.
Okay, well, now I'm going to have to look up lab muffin. So I think it's all fascinating and how many, when I became an esthetician, nobody even knew what one was. So the way that skincare has advanced and how many players there are in the game now of, trying to make people look and feel beautiful is fascinating to me. Such a noisy, saturated space. So I'm ready for like the real facts to come out and solid ways to help fix skin or make people feel more confident in their skin is something I'm ready for.
Yeah, no, and I think that I first became aware of you from a mutual friend, Pam Smith.
Oh my
She
goodness.
she yeah, she told me about you. And people like Pam who are just really focused on taking care of their clients and getting them great skin. That's the heart and soul of the industry. Those
Yeah.
are the people you know, who never have to try to attract people, because their clients walking around town are their best advertisements because they have such great skin. And they feel so confident. They understand why they're using what they're using and what the treatments they're getting are doing. And I mean, I think part of what we're going to be doing is explaining why the things that you're currently doing that work actually work. So we know why, we know some treatment modalities like microcurrent are effective. You see, clients that get regular microcurrent treatments, they they get results. We don't understand why, because unfortunately the hasn't been properly investigated. But I think that's what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be figuring out, okay, what are these modalities doing that produce such good results? Um,
With microcurrent, I'm glad you brought this up because it really is my niche. And I sold my spa in LA and moved to Palm Springs, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be so busy here. And nobody knew what microcurrent was. It was a process of educating people. And I have some of this in my show notes where you talk about it's not instant results. Sometimes it is like a gradual result that ends up being quite impressive. With microcurrent, I think that it does something to stimulate the cell in a way that's good. Like it speeds it up again as it slows down as we age, but amazing results if people will just stick with it for a little bit and give it some time to work.
Yeah, no, I think you're entirely, I think you're entirely right. Um, it, yeah, and I think that again, going back to AI rewards companies that produce data, right? It's because it it doesn't believe stories, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
believe stories. It it needs to, you know, take one piece, connect it to another, connect it to a third and a fourth and a fifth, and that line of logic has to make sense without gaps. And it's very good at identifying what the gaps are. And so, you know, what the companies that make these devices now have an opportunity to do, because before you could, um, there wasn't really an incentive to do your own research because no one would understand it. You couldn't really, the consumers wouldn't make sense of it. But now you have a listener, right, in AI that can understand it and can make sense of it. And
Feeds
if
off.
you do, and if you do produce it, it will give you credit for producing it. And it will say, yes, the makers of that machine used in this way tested over time, and this is the results that they got. And then they did some cell studies to understand what the mechanism was. And now you actually do have an incentive for doing the work. Um, so I'm as we started the episode talking about how no one knows that the rules have changed, but the rules have changed, and the sooner you adapt to the new rules, the better off you'll be. Yeah.
I want to share with you because not everybody cares about conversations like this, but I want to share with you my latest finding in skincare, my science,
Oh,
my
cool.
research. So I start, and I want your feedback or your thoughts on this. And then I want to talk about actually, I'm going to bring Adipeau into my treatment room because it's very in line with my recent findings. And I want to talk about how estheticians can wholesale your product and who your best clients are right now purchasing your products. But I'll share with you, I start every facial with a contouring oil cleanse. And the reason I do that is so my fingers feel the tone, the tissue, if the skin is suffering from, any elasticity. And I have found, because now we're dealing with the GLP-1s and the weight loss drugs, and people are losing tissue. I can feel it in their face, disintegrating when they're on these. And a lot of estheticians maybe aren't aware of this yet, but it's going to be treating skin in the future, like what's happening. So I have found that my clients that are on these weight loss drugs that are using a combination of a lipid-based A and C are not seeing the same tissue loss. So that is my finding. Like if you have people on these drugs, the nutrients that you're putting into the skin matter to help it maintain like a healthy, youthful appearance.
Absolutely. So we've actually, I've actually written a paper on the science behind GLP-1 skin with the people at the Karolinska. We've submitted for publication. I'll send it to you. Um, but so these treatments by actually liberate the skin. You have to think about them as liberators. They liberate the skin from years of chronic inflammation caused by excessive fat cell size. You didn't see the damage because the skin was so bloated. The fat cells were so bloated. They were pushing the skin up, so you couldn't see how weak and distressed the skin was. But
Wait,
these
pause for 1 second. You're saying the new weight loss is liberating the skin?
liberating the skin,
What does
yes.
liberating mean in this context? This is interesting. Like what
Yeah. So the healthy state of dermal fat is when the cells are small and pro-regenerative, meaning they're constantly turning over and they're actually secreting factors that support the skin structure. So fat cells make molecules. They have their own language that they speak. They speak other cells' language, and then they speak their own unique language. And some of this language supports directly collagen and elastin production. So they make a molecule, for example, called adiponectin. Adiponectin, Adipeau, nectin. It's a fat cell specific molecule that supports um, collagen formation, hyaluronic acid formation by fibroblasts. When the fat cells are big, they're not making adiponectin. They're making other stuff that's actually damaging the skin. And so, what did the GLP-1s do? The GLP-1s shrink these fat cells very rapidly. And now the cells can start regenerating again. It's like a forest fire. It burns through all of this debris, and now the field can regrow.
So in estheticians terms, what is happening here? Maybe it's reducing all the inflammatory type reactions, the puffiness, but giving you a clean slate to start with if you can provide it the right nutrients.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. It's like if you think about it like a forest where it's overgrown, there's all this underbrush, you can't get through it, and then the fire just burns through all of the stuff, right? The roots are still there, right? And now if you support that regeneration, that regrowth, the skin will become strong. But here's the problem is that, again, I'm going to bash on doctors. Um, the doctors and the med spas are like, oh, like here's a new market for us. Lacks weight loss skin. Let's use our old reliables. Let's Botox the hell out of it. Let's fill it
Injections.
up. Let's fill it up with stuff. Let's bring out the RF and ultrasound to like burn the skin. Those are the last things the skin needs. The skin needs, as you say, nutrient. It needs support.
Yeah, I'm going to say it and people can come after me. I'm not a fan of laser. When I worked in a med spa and I could smell in my treatment room people's skin burning 3 rooms away, it freaked me out. Like my Beauty Biz soul could barely take it. Not a fan of it. So
Yeah.
I totally agree and see what you're saying. And I think that we can now talk a little bit. Tell me your ingredient deck, like I have to say, I'm big in multifunctional products, and I told you I'm using yours everywhere now. And it has to be a good texture and smell, and yours fits all, checks off all the boxes.
We have one really magical ingredient, and that's Campharia parviflora extract. Campharia parviflora extract, also known as black ginger, is a really unique ingredient. It's been shown to stimulate new fat cell formation and reduce fat cell size. Most other ingredients that we know of that reduce fat cell size block fat cell regeneration. So caffeine, which is used in these under eye creams and it's used in cellulite creams, caffeine is really good at reducing fat cell size, but it's also really good at blocking new fat cell formation. So when you first use it, wow, it's working. Like it's depuffing. You keep using it and it will it will actually make it worse.
So I think that every esthetician should have your product in their treatment room because it works from acneic, problematic type skin to more of a youth boost. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we don't talk about the applications so much for younger subjects because our customer base is solidly 40 and older. But we have probably a dozen women who have used the product on their children's acne scars and have had good results. Um, just something we haven't really focused on yet. Um, we have to we first things first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would think after using it a little bit, if I had, and I don't, I have your clientele. I'm in Palm Springs, everyone's retired here. But if I
yeah,
had somebody with problematic skin, I probably would have them test the gel out a little bit just to see if it
absolutely.
could reduce the inflammation.
Yeah. So one we have so as I said, the rules have changed. You're rewarded for generating data. We have 4 clinical studies underway. One study that's registered, we're looking at lax skin in the legs, in older women, weak leg skin, basically, is the
Oh,
study.
I'm using it on my knees. I was telling my
40,
best friend this morning when we were walking, I go, I think this stuff's working.
yeah, 45 and older. Um, that's a registered study. And then we have 3 cohorts of these are these are cohorts where we say, okay, we take a group of people and we take them through the use of the product and we capture their results. So we have one group that's using it for breast skin, just quality, firmness, perkiness, everything over a 6 month period. We have one cohort that's uh, at least 45 and older. These are a group of women who work for a magazine called Provoked that is just for older women. It's like 50 plus audience. I think where their whole like staff is going to be testing the products for different, you know, conditions. Then we have a GLP-1 cohort. Well, we have more than 4 studies. And then we have a cohort of subjects that we've just recruited, which is Adipeau did not work for me. So we sent an email to all of our um, email subscribers, and we said, okay, if you've used the product for at least 2 months, you didn't get results, please send in your pictures. We want to understand why it doesn't work for certain people. And now we have a group of, I think, 12 it didn't work for me subjects that we're actually going to be taking through, and we're going to say, okay, you're going to use this or you're going to use this, and we're going to measure this. And so, yeah, 5 studies, and more to come. Um, yeah, no, it's the right way to do things. It's like, I was talking to a colleague on my team today, and I said, well, if you were to start with a clean sheet of paper and start a skincare company, you'd pick the most important issue, sort of aesthetic issue that you could solve, which is strength and volume, like the
Yeah.
major curves of the face, not the smaller wrinkles, but how can you actually help the skin improve the major curves, visible curves. So first of all, that's what you would do, and then you'd make sure that the science behind your approach was solid. You'd have an independent academic research group test it and say, okay, does the science make sense? And then you would do a bunch of clinical studies to show, okay, what can the products actually do and what are the limitations also. You know, it's important to learn the limitations. So one of the things we learned is that cellulite in younger women is much different than weak skin in older women. We get much better results in older women with weak skin than we do for with cellulite in women who are 35, 40 years and younger. Because, and I talked to a dermatologist, a good dermatologist about this, and she said, well, Yvonne, that, if you had asked me, I would have told you that cellulite that you're seeing in women who are in their 30s, it's long standing. They've had it since they were teenagers.
Is it
And
hormonal? Are they associating it with something hormonal for the younger?
it's it's just, it's deeply ingrained, it's so why do areas of the skin become cellulite, right? I don't know if that's a word. Is primarily because that tissue is poorly oxygenated.
Oh,
There's not a lot of blood flowing through that tissue, and so the fat cells that are there are oxygen deprived, they're growth factor deprived, they don't regenerate. So you have really large, really inflamed fat cells. And that dimpling that you're seeing that's pulling down at their skin, that's long-standing fibrosis. And it's just it's not completely unresponsive, but it takes a longer time and other modalities.
yeah. I was going to say
to
that's kind of where fascia release and massage and all that good stuff can be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, so are your main clients or your main clientele estheticians? Is that who's carrying the?
No, no, estheticians are, they're really like our friends, right? Like, we don't think of them as a channel. We think of like, oh, we have this group of 400 or 500 or so estheticians that help us spread the word, and they're our partners. And then our main business is direct to consumer, you know.
Okay.
Um,
But you do offer wholesale to estheticians.
we do, and and we're one of, like, I think the few companies that I think have successfully figured out how to make direct to consumer and esthetician sales work, because it's hard,
Okay.
Um,
Tell me how you figured that out because there are a lot of estheticians that are going to want to hear this.
well, the main thing we do is we we offer effectively some exclusivity, right?
Okay.
Because we don't want to be like Environ. Not that there's anything wrong with Environ, but Environ is sold by every esthetician and their cat. Um,
Including me. It's my
they
main skincare
see,
line.
and so it's like, okay, they've got some good products, but like, if you want to, like, we really want all the best estheticians. And by best, we don't mean like most, celebrity bigger names and so on and so forth. In fact, we've actually stopped working with some like really big estheticians just because they're not good for our brand, actually. um, but you have the estheticians that really care about their clients, who really get good results. They're working in a town, you know, and they say, look, I don't want to be one of like five estheticians that are in my town carrying the product. Well, we can tell them, you have no reason to worry about that. We're not looking to have thousands and thousands of estheticians. We just want all the good ones. Like,
Yeah.
however little that number is, right? If it turned out that all the good ones, that there are only 800 good estheticians in the world, we'd say, great. We want all 800, and we don't want 801. And
Yeah.
that's how we balance, right? Being a consumer brand with being an esthetician brand. It's like, in terms of hair care, like, where, only certain estheticians can carry a hair care brand. And and they'll advertise that brand, like, on their windows, so people can view that as a mark of of quality.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to take us a while before we're understood to be, where carrying Adipeau is is going to be understood to be a mark of quality. We're not there yet, but 2 to 3 years from now, I think that's going to be the case. And once we have our 800 or whatever that number is, that's when we stop. We're not going to, and we don't sell. We will never sell at Ulta. We will never sell on Amazon. We will never sell at Sephora because no one at those places can explain the products.
Yeah, it's funny. I taught a class on this yesterday, and I think we had 150 estheticians sign up for it about retailing and just claiming your power and using your expertise and your knowledge and the brands that you choose to support as your sales tool, not worrying about losing the sale to Amazon. Or so it's kind of what I taught yesterday is very in line with the approach that you're taking. Like, have your product you really believe in and know how to educate your clients on how it will benefit their results. So
Yeah,
there's something to be said for that.
yeah. And the other thing is, like, we never have sales. Like, we'll never have a sale. Never. We don't have a Black Friday sale. We don't have a Mother's Day sale. We don't have Memorial Day sale. We have a very generous subscription program. So we want people to become long-term customers. We've had estheticians come to us and say, well, Yvonne, you're offering such a generous subscription. How can we compete with that? I say, if you offer a subscription, we will cut our price to you so that you have the same margin.
I
We would
love that.
love for you to, we would love for you to have a subscription.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
have to meet with, how many people do you have on your team? If I reach out for wholesale, who does that email go to?
You write to Sasha, Sasha at adipeau.com,
Okay.
and she'll help you. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today. Why don't you give a shout out to your either URL or social media page so our listeners know how to find you?
Yeah, no, I mean the best place to go is on to the Instagram, to our Instagram page at Adipeau on Instagram. You'll see, we have a level of engagement that I think is really exciting. You'll see a lot of comments, you'll see a lot of critical statements, like, and you'll see how we treat those, you'll see.
And then just like a selfish personal question, do you think it's going to help my earlobes?
Definitely. Yeah,
Okay, good.
my wife did the earlobe test. You'll see on our Instagram we have pictures of her earlobes, treated and untreated.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep at it then. Well,
yeah,
thanks so much for your time, Yvonne. It was lovely speaking to you, and just congratulations on creating an awesome product for us.
yeah. Well, great to meet you. Look forward to building on this relationship. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Thanks so much. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Take care, Lori.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beauty Biz Show. I hope the episode has left you feeling inspired to build the beauty biz of your dreams. As always, we appreciate your kind reviews as it helps us attract amazing guests to be interviewed. Also, be sure to give me a follow on Instagram at Lori_BeautyBiz and SpaStar_Lux. If you'd like to know more about how we can work together, visit beautybizclub.com, where we are busy helping estheticians create outrageously abundant careers.